Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Shayar's Voice. I'm uploading this episode after a while and took exams day. And today I have with me, I would say, my favorite creator on Instagram, and I think आप लोगों की भी होगी, Laraib. I've been getting Laraib to come on the podcast for a while now, but she's here now. She runs the very famous page Purana Pakistan, which all of us love. And let's just start. Laraib, how are you? Lahore kaisa hai? I hope you're in
I
Lahore.
I am in Lahore. Alhamdulillah, everything's going really well. The new year started in high spirits, so I'm really hoping, inshallah, this future came, this year goes well.
Hopefully.
Future too. But yeah, Alhamdulillah, doing well.
Everyone's
Hope you are too.
Yeah. So let's just start with आपका जो Instagram handle है जिससे मुझे भी पता चला था. Before we dive into any other topic, what was the motivation behind Purana Pakistan, and how do you get the content, and how do you like make out time to still run this page for like it's more than four years now? If you would just like
Been
give us
almost
an intro.
4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this page kind of started on a fluke, but not a fluke, if that makes sense. So ऐसा था कि I've always kind of been like a I think like I felt from a very young age, alhamdulillah, actually, I found the purpose in my life and it's been consistent. That thing has never changed. Ki nahi, I have a new passion now. I have a new passion now. So since I was like, I think I would say since I was 7 years old, onwards, mujhe bas tha ki, is there any way we can make Pakistan better? Because, unfortunately, things were not always great. And I mean, I was, when I was 7, it was like the early 2000s. So I was aware कि हालात बुरे हैं. I think at that time martial law भी था, general Musharraf का time चल रहा था, and then Benazir आई, and then she was killed also in 2007. I was still a little child, and then just so much was happening. I was just like क्यों है हमारा मुल्क इस तरह, and क्या कर सकते हैं, सफाई भी करनी है, and कराची में गंदगी भी है, and I was just like कैसे होगा. तो at a young age I was like मैंने prime minister बनना है, and I was in grade 7, and I told my sociology teacher, and she's like, Larid, you can't become a prime minister. And I was like, why, miss? And she's like, because you're a woman. And then I said, okay, well, Benazir was a prime minister. She's like, yeah, well, her father was Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. Your father's also, like, but that was the mindset where was everyone seemed so hopeless. And they were so aware that, maybe system cannot change and stuff like that. So I was always like, hey, ho sakta hai, ho sakta hai, ho sakta hai. So, I mean, from a very young age, I just knew that that is kind of like something that I just wanted to do something, somehow we become a better society. So that's what I mean. Like Purana Pakistan started on a fluke, but then so there was like this is the entire background story that led to the creation of it.
Great.
So in my O levels, I was always I remember there was like a little presentation on Jinnah, and after that, you know how it's like an auditorium bhara hua hai with kids and chote the. I think I was in grade 9, maybe grade 10, and the teacher asked, does anyone have any questions? And I just stood up instinctually and I went on the stage and they're like, this is so odd. And I took the mic and I said, you know what, we need to be more aware and try to do better and this and that. And the whole, like, everyone made so much fun of me afterwards because it was like not just my class, it was the entire school sitting in a huge auditorium. And I just go on a rant about how we need to make the country better and this and that. And everyone started clapping and all that. And then my class made so much fun of me and they nicknamed me Jinnah. It's not that when I went to Malaysia on a school trip, my class fellows told my tour guide that I was Jinnah's granddaughter. Just
Okay.
ऐसे, make it, well, it's just because it became such a joke कि लारिब तो मतलब कि, क्या अपने आप को, इस तरह से and all that. But it's a very fun thing where they knew कि was, but everyone also used to tell me, अभी के तुम्हारे ख्वाब हैं खत्म हो जाएंगे, you will become hopeless too, and we're all hopeless, and तुम भी मुल्क के बाहर चली जाओगी और अभी बहुत idealistic हो ना. I just चलो हो सकता है. Then I met an amazing professor. I'm going to actually give him I'm going to give him a mention. His name is Dr. Farooq Sheikh. He taught at Nixer as well. And he taught me in Cedar. He was only there for 1 year and he changed my life. He told me about Habib Talib, and he was someone who, used history to kind of educate us about our current situation and how we can become better. I ended up getting a D in his subject, but
Okay.
which is history, but it changed my life. I was like very close to him. He messages me almost, every week or so. And he's an elderly, like he's in his 70s, I believe, and an amazing man. And he's always been very hopeful. He did his PhD from Vienna and very inspiring. And even though I didn't do well in his subject, he never looked down upon me because, Pakistan is very grace oriented, especially Karachi. So I said, Acha nahi, this is. So then I went to university. Alhamdulillah, I got admission into my top choice, which was University of Toronto, and I went there. And my roommate ended up being Bangladeshi.
Okay.
So I went to her and I said, "Oh, हम तो बहनें निकली because आप भी पाकिस्तान का हिस्सा हुआ करती थी और मैं भी पाकिस्तान से हूँ and all that." And she was so sweet and she smiled at me. She's like, "Hmm." And I
Great.
was like, why are you doing that?" So then I started. So then in my first year unis, history. I took a history course, intro to history, and uska, even though it was European based, the final topic was that I could change anything. I could choose anything from my final essay from a range of 20 topics. One of them was Indo-Pak 1971.
Okay.
So then that's where my research in South Asian studies kind of started. And that's when I realized, oh, जो कुछ मुझे लगा मुझे पता था, I don't
Yeah.
actually know it.
It's
So
yeah,
that was like that click.
that's
And then I read this book by Anchal Malhotra called Remnants of a Separation, which
gee, it's a
talks
very
about the
nice book.
partition from a.
Yeah.
It's a very nice book from a very
Yeah.
human point of view. कि I didn't know अब मैं एक Indian का point of view सुन रही हूँ, अब मैं पाकिस्तानी का point of view सुन रही हूँ. She wrote in such a human way that then I decided, okay, I think I should focus on South Asia. So in my second year, I took up South Asian studies. I decided I'm going to do history. I decided political science to understand the politics of the region. And then in my last, so this is, I'm getting to how Purana Pakistan got created. In my second year's end, Pakistan mein halat bahut kharab hone lag gaye economy wise. We had Atif Mia who came in. He was, not allowed to stay because of, his background and all of that. And people were being very upset. People were like, we're leaving the country and this and that. And the dollar was just going up and up and up. So I was sitting in an apartment and my friend was washing the dishes. और मैं बैठी हुई थी और मैं ये सब पढ़ रही थी फेसबुक पे कि हो क्या रहा है पाकिस्तान में. And I was like, you know what? हम ऐसे नहीं हुआ करते थे. Pakistan was actually a pretty good country. I mean, it still is a good country, but I mean, there was a time when we were cleaner. We were, the dollar was doing well against the rupee. The rupee, Karachi, like, Asia, may we were coming out as, like a pretty, like, I was like, why don't people think about this? Or why don't we realize that, or why is it everything's about politics? Why is everything about, corruption? Why is that Pakistan's identity? And because it's so much more, there are people who contributed. Why don't we celebrate the people who contributed? And I just gone around. And वो बटन धो रही है. And she's like half listening to me. And she said, तो बना लो ऐसा कोई page. Because I said कि Instagram पे क्यों नहीं है ऐसा page? So she's like, तो बना लो. And she didn't even realize that her thing to बना लो was like,
Ban
huh,
gaya.
why not? I was like, yeah, I'm being trained in history. I have so many books. Mufti Mashallah is known to have a great resource. So that's literally like in 2 minutes. And she's like, she was just done drying and she turned around. She's like, okay, what's up now? And then I said, I made the page. And she's like, what? What did you name it? I was like, Purana Pakistan. And she's like, that's a nice name. Okay, not bad.
Yeah, that's a very catchy
That's how
name.
it started. Yeah,
It's
I was like,
amazing. It's amazing, like
alliteration.
how you went through a whole process of your
Whole
own
journey. Yeah,
to
whole
create this
process of my
page.
own for sure.
Like बहुत सारे questions there, but something I really want to talk about Purana Pakistan is because I was so I'm a Punjabi by ethnicity, but I grew up in Karachi, and I've been associated with Karachi ka jo wo old area. I'm member of a couple of clubs. I used to go to Gymkhanas, Hotel Metropole se roz guzarta tha, and I still remember as a child we used to go to Karachi Gymkhana every Saturday, and my parents used to tell me, and my grandfather used to tell me, जो Hotel Metropole है ना, जो खंडर बना हुआ है, and it was one of the best hotels, and then beach luxury में ये होता था, and American embassy होती थी, and there's this view कि, और आई थिंक ये थोड़ा राइट से ये व्यू आता है कि ये जो पुराना पाकिस्तान को हम रोमांटिसाइज करते हैं, इट हैज समथिंग टू डू विद जी बहुत ही कोई वोक और लिबरल हो गया था पाकिस्तान, विच इज आई थिंक विच इज नॉट द केस. इट वाज हर सोसाइटी का सेगमेंट अपने हिसाब से ऑपरेट करता था. जैसे अर्बन कराची अभी भी प्रिटी मच सिमिलर ही होगा, बट ऑब्वियसली गंदगी एंड वो लोग एंड वो सब ज्यादा हो गए हैं. आई वांट टू टॉक अबाउट दिस एस्पेक्ट कि पुराना पाकिस्तान को रोमांटिसाइज करना कोई बुरी बात नहीं है. इट वाज योर ओन कंट्री which okay split into two after 71, but the people are still the same. We still have those Parsi colonies, we still have beach luxury, we still have gymkhanas, we still have that culture, we still have all those hotels. अगर आप मतलब people who are in Karachi would know, if like अगर आप माई कोलाची की तरफ चले जाएं या आप बीच वाले एरिया पे चले जाएं, everything still happens. And
Yep.
no matter whatever happens, like externally जो भी हम war on terror में involve हो गए नहीं थे, लोग change नहीं होते, लोग तो वही रहते हैं. And that's the beauty
Hmm.
of it, right? No matter whatever happens,
Yeah.
people stay the same and people stay connected to their roots. And I feel like मुझे यहाँ like जब मैं भी पाकिस्तान से बाहर आया, मुझे realize हुआ और मैंने ज़्यादा इस पे research करना शुरू करी that a lot of good did happen, and I think a lot of bad things also happened. Like no one's denying it. Like
Hmm.
it's that. I wanna know जब आप पाकिस्तान से बाहर गई थी, when you went to U of T, did you feel that आपकी पाकिस्तानी आइडेंटिटी कम होती जा रही है और आपकी साउथ एशियन आइडेंटिटी बढ़ती जा रही है? Because when all of the desis meet, they go out, they hang out, and then they're like, यार मतलब ठीक है, मुल्क तो अलग है, passports अलग है, but pretty much हरकतें और हालात तो सेम ही है. Did you feel that?
Oh yeah, now that you say it, okay, I have like an interesting story to share about this. I'll send you like a photograph actually. Chance, my sister, um, she was already at UFT at the time that I joined. And I remember उसने एक request की थी कि, she wanted like instead of like a tapestry that most uni students buy, she said, I want a huge Pakistan ka jhanda. Like
Okay,
a
yeah.
really big one. I think it ended up being like a good 10 feet long. It was a pretty big
Okay,
jhanda.
okay, yeah.
So she's like, मुझे ना एक बहुत बड़ा सा झंडा चाहिए जो मैं चाहती हूँ, people know I'm Pakistani, and she's like, people, in case anyone thinks badly of Pakistani, I want them to see how proud I am because, the world, how Pakistanis usually, I think
Yeah.
a lot of people who go abroad become very proud, but she's like, I want people to see that I'm a proud Pakistani. So she wanted to get that jhanda. I was also very proud of that jhanda because, as I told you already, how patriotic I was.
Yeah.
Definitely when I went there, I realized that this might be a little controversial, but I'll say it. Um, I said I think I'm a pre-partition, pre-1947 patriot
Yeah. I
because
say the same to my friends now after coming
yeah,
here.
after coming because I was like, yes, I love Pakistan. I love the people. I actually do love the people. And when I say the people, I mean mostly the masses. I'm gonna say best friends with my driver who accompanies me everywhere. I take him to the musical evenings that I go to. He instead of sitting in the car, he joins me. We go walking on the road together. My meetings, he's there with me, kind of like, and he's also getting educated in all of this. I love my helpers at home, who I'm very close to as well. Um, like you, because I've made a public account now. I teach at Herzog, which is a village nearby. Um, and I mostly cater to like lower income families just because that's something that I feel very
I think आपका I think it's आपका your screen's hanged.
bad.
Wait, I'll just yeah, we're back. Sorry for
Yeah.
the technical. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I was just thinking like even though my love for Pakistan doesn't get less, but I realized that there's so much more and our identity as a whole is so deeply intertwined in each other. The Bengali identity, the Indian identity, the same values, there's so much relatability. And then obviously like another thing to think about is that the partition happened 75 years ago, but we all lived together for 1100 years.
Yeah.
There's so much joint history that I think, yeah, definitely. Like, obviously, I love Pakistan and that doesn't go less, but I love South Asia as a whole as well. I love the subcontinent and I love referring to us Desis as Hum Desi. Like they're part of me too. I'm not a separate identity. We're
Yeah.
all one. Yeah, our countries are different, but we are one. That's how I look
And
at things.
and
People can disagree, but yeah.
yeah, and even through my own platform, या मैं अगर कोई blogs वगैरह भी लिखता हूँ, even here when I meet people, I'm like पिछले 20 सालों में या let's say even after I think in the last 20 years जब से हम war on terror में involved हुए थे, मैंने देखा कि like as a child as well, because I was always into this topic, हमारी identity को somehow South Asia से उठा के Arab world में डाल दिया गया.
Yeah.
Even now, one of the like multinational companies of the world, Pakistan को mean app के तौर पे recognize करती है, Middle East, North Africa and Pakistan, which is
Yeah.
bullshit take. It was always South Asia, and you literally
Yeah.
can't change the geography, right? It will remain
Yeah.
South Asia.
Yeah.
And अगर आप South Asia को देखें, okay, तो India, Sri Lanka, Nepal and Bhutan and Pakistan को somehow Arab world का part बना दिया गया, which is number one wrong, and which like even if they do it, like they can't make it happen, right? That can
Yeah.
never be the case.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I feel like it's not wrong to like embrace the whole South Asian in you, right? Like
Yeah.
मतलब जब कोई जैसे अभी कोचेला पे अगर दिलजीत दोसांझ परफॉर्म कर रहा है तो like I'm proud as well. I'm a Punjabi, but okay, he may be a Canadian or an Indian, but I like it. I love it because I think that is South Asian and even Ali Sethi perform कर रहा है तो अगर कोई Indian उसको rejoice करेगा, so what's wrong in it, right?
Yeah.
And
100%.
I feel like in the this age where we are living right now, in the age of internet and everything and I think those very hard boundaries and very traditional rivalries won't exist. I think they've already vanished. Like no one
Mm.
literally cares about them anymore. And yeah, but I feel like हम मुझे और आपको ये exposure इसलिए क्योंकि हमारा बाहर आना हुआ, वरना हमारे लिए इंडिया जाना from Pakistan I think इतना मुश्किल भी नहीं है, but it is hard. It's not that easy. You need to get sponsorship invites and
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, like some after coming here, I just realized because I've been traveling for the whole year now, and I just realized यार हम EU की तरह क्यों नहीं रह सकते? Why can't we just
I
like try?
know.
And
There's a history to that as well.
yeah, because
Because
these guys fought like मतलब इन्होंने भी तो दो वर्ल्ड वॉर्स लड़के इनको अकल आई के बॉर्डर्स खोल देते हैं.
yeah, but actually, Qaeda asked if we could have a South Asian Union instead of becoming partitioned through separate things. He said, okay, let's
Yeah,
make a separate autonomous state that is for Muslims and a separate autonomous state for Hindus. Or other maybe like in a more secular way. But he said, okay, but we still want to exchange culture and still want to, it's just that we wanted to have separate autonomy.
yeah,
And it was vetoed because they said there's no such thing as a union. And the European Union, I think, was founded after the partition happened.
yeah, yeah. It was founded in 1991, I think 91
Acha,
or
European Union?
no? Oh, sorry, EU need
I think
Shenzhen.
for
I think 91 में founded. I'm
yeah,
not sure though.
yeah. But I
I
just
think
remember when
after
I
World
looked it
War.
up, I can't yeah. But I found that so interesting because it's like you didn't allow us to have because the British
I
basically
think
vetoed it. And
the more you read on Jinnah, हम थोड़ा different topic पे चले जाएंगे. But I listen to like Shahzad's podcast with Ishtiaq Ahmed, I think, and I think मेरी और भी किसी podcast पे किसी से बात हो रही थी कि the more you read on Jinnah, even यहाँ पे library में I borrowed a couple of books on Jinnah, but there are a lot of ambiguities. ये थोड़ा सा controversial हो जाएगा, but we need to accept the
yeah,
fact कि 75 years पहले क्या हो रहा था, we don't know. There was a lot of
yeah,
politics, there was a lot of
yeah.
power
There's
game,
no black and white. There's no black and white.
a
I
lot
I
of
mean,
things
of
were
course, I feel
happening.
like yeah. Just say I do think if we celebrate him uh in a very sensationalized way, I think we should definitely look at him as a little more human. But I guess that's like the identity for a lot of Pakistanis. My personal views, obviously, I won't share because that's my personal, and that does become a little controversial. But there's obviously a lot of like depth to it. But I feel like people don't realize even him, um, like the partition politics were very complex.
Yeah, they were
It was
very
not that
complex.
easy. We
They
always used to
were,
hear, अच्छा Crips mission fail हो गया, ये fail हो गया, ये fail हो गया, ये वाला fail. You remember? I remember like
yeah,
जब हम पढ़ते थे पाक स्टडीज के ये भी
yeah,
plan fail हो
पाकिस्तान
गया, ये भी
स्टडीज
plan
में
fail.
कैबिनेट मिशन
It's
प्लान फेल हो गया,
Camden mission plan fail हो
फिर
गया.
डायरेक्ट एक्शन डे आया, फिर ये हुआ,
Yeah,
एंड
that
लाइक
was yeah.
it's so confusing. And the thing is कि मुझे तो ये सोच सोच के कुछ होता है कि in the next 5 years, if I think naturally everyone who lived through that era will be gone.
Oh yeah,
And
I
I
know
think
it's
we're the
scary.
last ones. And I really follow, I really like the work 1947 Partition Archive is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, उन्होंने मेरे दादा का भी interview किया था, I sat through the whole interview. And I'm like, this is so interesting because अगर हिस्ट्री को हम प्रिजर्व ही नहीं करेंगे एंड मतलब अभी रिसेंटली वी हैव सीन लाइक इवन इफ यू सी अ करतारपुर व्लॉग, you can okay if you don't look at the flags and if you don't look at the caption, you
You won't be able to
cannot
tell.
differentiate कि आगे उस वाले पंजाब से आए हैं या हमारे वाले पंजाब से आए हैं.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very intertwined in a lot of
It is.
ways.
I think जैसे आपने जो पहले कहा ना कि we're like looped in with the Middle East and the Arab world. Obviously, like you've also done South Asian पे काफी, and when I read speeches and all that, we're literally Pakistan was primarily made for Indian Muslims,
Yeah,
right? It just मतलब कि every ethnicity, whether you're from UP, whether you're from anywhere in India, Bangalore, South India, all of that, it was a bunch of Indian Muslims that basically got separated and together. You
yeah,
can't erase that Indian identity
yeah.
from like recent history from who we are.
And
And religion,
that's the problem
yeah,
of our state,
that's the
right?
beauty. I know, yeah. And religion, मेरा personal, क्योंकि I will admit that I am actually religious on my own. but that is my own personal thing. I can never imagine telling someone else कि आप इस तरह क्यों ये मतलब because I am quite religious, but I feel like it's such a personal thing
Hmm.
that no one has the right to question me on the way that I practice my religion, and I don't have the right to question it. It's such a intimately personal thing that should not even be a topic of discussion.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like couple of decades down the line मुझे लगता है कि I think our state went into a crisis after 71. I feel like 71 के बाद, like with Bhutto, and I think उन Bhutto की कुछ memoirs में भी है कि Bhutto called the whole intellectual elite of the country, and they're like, we need to do something about it, else we'll just start losing on our provinces. And somehow some old men came up with this idea कि state को फिर state और society का relationship renegotiate करते हैं through religion. And I feel like that's where it all went wrong. But द होल इन द लास्ट 75 years हमने हमेशा नॉर्थ इंडियन के चक्कर में हमने अपना नुकसान ही करा है. लाइक हम कभी
बहुत नुकसान किया है.
टर्क्स के पीछे लग जाते हैं, कभी अरब्स के पीछे लग
Yeah,
जाते हैं. एंड आई फील लाइक कोई बंदा अगर दुबई एयरपोर्ट से बाहर भी निकला है और अगर उसको लगता है कि वो रिमोटली भी सिमिलर है टू एन अरब, तो वो बंदा डिलूजनल है. बिकॉज इवन
yeah.
इफ यू टॉक टू अरब्स, द वे दे टॉक टू यू, इट्स नॉट एट ऑल द सेम. And no matter how hard you try to trace your roots to them, you cannot, because you're going against the laws of nature then. मतलब आप किसी को भी मतलब इस तरह वो नहीं कर सकते. You can work with them, you can have Arab
Yeah,
friends, but उनको अपनी
yeah.
identity बना लेना is something. And I think in the last 10 years or something, like internet के आने के बाद and इतनी traveling के बाद, I think लोगों को भी ये realize होना शुरू हो गया है. I feel like
Hmm.
now when you meet diaspora in the US and Canada, and they're done with all this rivalry and North Indian thing. They're pretty like they do everything
Yeah.
together now. So yeah, that's that as well. थोड़ा सा पेज के ऊपर आते हैं. You're in Lahore right now, but आपकी बहुत सारी पोस्ट कराची से भी होते हैं.
जी.
So how do you do that? And are you
Yeah.
looking to expand मतलब to other areas of Pakistan as well?
Yeah, I mean, I do try to be. So the thing is that Purana Pakistan is a public archive, essentially. So what happens is that a lot of the data that's already spread out across the internet, I tend to compile it, and because I do have like historical knowledge, so I do expand on it. So maybe I'll find a photograph, I'll try to find out कौन से इलाके का है, look at the car, I'll ask ये गाड़ियाँ कौन से जमाने में होती थी, so then I'll figure out the decade, then go around asking, then I'd search up कि ये building क्या है, and then like that's how then because it's usually a photo with a generic like 60s, 70s or something like that. Yeah. So I then try to do some added research, and that's what goes up on the page. But the sad thing is the rest of Pakistan unfortunately is not that well,
Connected.
matlab, not well connected, but I mean it's like there's not a lot of data available about Purana Faisalabad, Purana Multan.
Yeah,
These are maybe I'm naming like
yeah,
cities that are famous, right? Cities
yeah.
that are well known. If Shikarpur and other kind of cities जो थोड़ी सी जिनका इतना नहीं है, it's really hard to find data. So I do try to put those up, लेकिन it's harder. So it's usually people submitting their own personal archives that then go up relating to Balochi history and all that. So recently, actually, I just did Purana Pakistan's first winter internship this year, which just ended a week ago. And I had 20 interns chosen from a pool of 700 applicants. And these
Okay.
20 interns were from 14 different cities. So that was very exciting for me, where most of them were, Karachi, Lahore, may applicants there, but some of them were even Indian. I had one from Aligarh, one from uh, Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh, a Sindhi girl from there. I had a partition enthusiast working for the Partition Museum from Delhi. So it was really interesting to get those different perspectives and get them to kind of share what they think from their lens, because I want Purana Pakistan to be focusing on other cities beyond Lahore and Karachi. But issue
Hmm.
ये है कि सबसे ज़्यादा data इन्हीं शहरों का है, like
Obviously, because you're
universities and all
the
that, because it was such an
majority.
urban city. Yeah.
Yeah, urban
And these are the
centers.
two top kind of like well-known. So it makes me sad because I want to be able to be a little more diverse, but it's so hard to find data. So I quit my job in October to be able
Okay.
to do some more research. So like this Saturday, all day I'll be in Multan. On Friday I'll be in Androon trying to get some information on, Kabul se ke jo dry fruits wale hain. So I'm trying to kind of like now get more hands-on getting data. I'm planning on going to Peshawar, inshallah, in like a week or two. to be able to go and get like some idea about. So now I'm trying to actively, take out time to be able to do these kind of things. And then Karachi Jakar, I know I want to go to rural Sindh. I want to get stories from there. So I definitely am looking to expand Purana Pakistan. But the issues are definitely like, funding and stuff like that. I haven't really
I
applied
get
for any
it.
of that.
This is something
It
that,
gets a little tough.
yeah,
And
it's
I
really
also want the
tough.
information to be, it is. And I also want the information to be accessible to the masses. So I am looking to, translate the work into Urdu, creating a
This
website. So it
is
just it gets, yeah,
great. You're doing some great work because even like you mentioned Faisalabad, and I was born in Faisalabad because my family is originally from Faisalabad.
yeah,
And I even now I go there almost every year. And abhi bhi, if you go to Faisalabad and if you look at old jo Faisalabad mein log rehte hain, they pretty much regret the way their city's name was changed out of nowhere. So it was, so for those who are watching, it was
Yalpur.
called Lyalpur after the
Mm,
British administrator Lord Lyell, who literally created the city. And just to appease, like, okay, King Faisal has its own importance in our history and in the region's history, but people still regret it. मेरे दादा अभी भी लालपुर कहते हैं, फैसलाबाद नहीं कहते. He says
yeah,
Faisalabad just for the sake of it, but he always says when he's talking to his brothers and sisters, and he's like Lalpur जाना है या Lalpur की flight है and all of that. So I think this is very important. And similarly, if you go to other cities, every city, every town, every gully, I suppose, has a tremendous amount of
yeah,
history. Like even if you meet
yeah.
Indians all over the world, they're like हमारे कोई पता नहीं कौन से सियालकोट में थे, and we had like cousins in Rawalpindi. And I feel like it's important कि हम जो भी जिंदगी में करें हम साथ साथ बस अपनी रूट से connected रहें, because
Yeah.
the whole world does it. It's के नहीं सिर्फ हम ही कर रहे हैं, like the whole world, everyone's like pretty uh, interested in what happened. Like even here, even in continental Europe, अगर आप World War II की बात करते हैं तो 18-19 year olds are also interested in it. Okay, and
Mm,
if you go to Germany, they're pretty much, they do consider कि उन्होंने क्या किया था 70 साल पहले दुनिया के साथ. So we can do the same. मतलब हमारे
yeah.
I feel like a lot of desis, I don't know, I do felt it. I'm not sure if this is true, but थोड़ा सा avoid करते हैं to talk about their history, to talk about what happened, to talk about, they just because for them it gets too political and it gets a bit inconvenient. Because I think हमारी जो SEC A B से हम belong करते हैं वो बहुत उनके लिए politics अक्सर inconvenient हो जाती है, and they feel like just stick to your own thing and just don't talk about all of this. So yeah, it was just, I just said this in essay. It was not a question. So uh, just like that. Uh, how, so what's the plan now? It's been 4 years, and kya plan hai? Like how you're sticking with Purana Pakistan? You have your own professional some commitments anytime soon, or you
Hmm.
want to expand it? Like
Yeah, that is an interesting one. So I mean, I did started when I was just 20 years old and I was a baby.
it's not
And at that
20
time,
years
my
old is still
priority
old. It's not that
is
young
it
though.
though? I mean, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
but I
at
just
that time
turned
I thought I was.
25. I feel old, so I would agree with
I
you.
know. But when you're 20, I feel like I was at that point realizing how little I know about everything.
Mhm.
And I did not feel like I was equipped to have an opinion about a lot of things because I was like, there's so much that I don't know. So I don't want to make sweeping statements. So, like I now when I look back, it's like I was a baby. Like I was in my second year trying to figure out life, trying to figure out what I want to do. And I'm still trying to figure that all out. But what I mean is at that time, I was not thinking from an ambitious point of view. I did not even think that Purana Pakistan would get famous. It was a way of expression for me and an outlet for me to kind of like compile this, maybe for myself, maybe for my friends, maybe people who are interested. I guess the fact that Alhamdulillah I did get a good response made me realize that yes, people were waiting for something like this, and the kind of messages that I get on almost a daily are so heartwarming. Okay, I realized that, especially from the diaspora, where people are like, we want to connect with our roots and our sense of identity gets stronger. But तो उस वक्त मुझे ये था कि मैं अपनी पढ़ाई करती थी, and the only promise that I made to myself when I was starting it was that I will not run a page like this if I can't be consistent. So that was one thing that I was very mindful about. Every other day I will make a post. Um, so I was very consistent with that, alhamdulillah, and I think uske wajah se bhi I got a good response. Then when I got done with uni, I wanted to get some experience in the real world. I wanted to understand better work ethic because I was so, I guess, raw because I was just out of uni. I had structure all my life. Now I'm on my own. need to figure out. And I've also always been very passionate about education. So I've worked very actively in Pakistan's education scene, especially with lower income families and people who don't have the same opportunities, because Pakistan unfortunately is very class distinctive. So people who have more money have more opportunities. So I always used to want to work in education for people who don't have the same opportunities that other people do. So usme bhi that was what I was passionate about, education and history. So I did intertwine them with Purana Pakistan, but वापस आके मैंने थोड़ा सा सोचा मैं क्या करूं. I had a pretty bad experience at a private college that I joined as a counselor because I was thinking maybe I should just make money so that I can put the money into Purana Pakistan so that I can
Yeah,
expand it.
yeah,
I ended up quitting that in 2 years because, sorry, 2 months, not 2 years, 2 months because it turned out to be a pretty horrific. I'm just going to say horrific. If anyone from that school listens to it, they should know it was a quite horrific experience. Where they're very unethical and made me realize where the priorities are for the private schools. Not all of them, but this one definitely. Um, and then I joined Harsuk, which is a village, sorry, a school in Theatre Village in Lahore near Bedia. And I've been working there for almost a year and a half, actually. I joined it in October 2021, and now it's, almost Feb 2023. And I do that. And at the same time, because I mean, it is on a voluntary basis, so I wasn't making anything. So I started working at the Citizens Foundation, which is an NGO that works in education they try to bring quality education to spaces that don't have schools and whatnot. So I started working as a researcher in their learning and assessment design. I was working remotely because the headquarters were in Karachi and I was in Lahore. So that's what I started doing. That was my paying job, but obviously it's an NGO, so they're not market competitive.
they don't pay a
So
lot. That's, yeah, I
yeah, they
get
don't
it.
pay a lot. So then I had to quit that in October because my family said, you've had a year, and you need to now. They saw that I was doing this more out of majboori, and they felt like I was kind of like my spirit was. I was losing that somewhere because I was getting a little down. I was getting a little sad. I would get tired because my work hours were till 5 p.m. Just a job is. So they were like, your passion is Purana Pakistan, and we don't want you to feel like दुनिया का pressure, पैसे बनाने का pressure stops you from that. So we are giving you a roof over your head. You have no other responsibilities but yourself. So quit this job. You've got an experience. It's been a wonderful experience. I loved working at ECF. I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to start their career and trying to figure out what. They were very ethical. They were amazing, alhamdulillah. And I was really sad about leaving it, but I couldn't do all three duties basically,
Yeah,
Harsuk,
I get it.
ECF, and Purana Pakistan. तो वो मैंने अक्टूबर में छोड़ा and then I just started brainstorming कि what's next, and obviously because I'm figuring things out on my own as well. So yeah, so now it's been interesting because Purana Pakistan more is like a movement for me. It's me trying to achieve the things that I always wished to do, to try to make Pakistan a better place, to make it a more educated place, because yeah, Pakistan में पढ़ाई लिखाई है, people are educated, but at the same time it's very
Yeah, it's very limited.
numbers. It's very
Yeah,
limited. They don't get to critically think. It's very rata system. It's very ke ye padhe, ye kare. It's not like thinking out of the box, trying to be creative. There's so much scope. There's so many opportunities that can be, given to people. And so I was like, I'm just gonna keep this as a place that, gets people to think a little more, make them a little. And then it's a public archive that I choose forever, inshallah, for it to be free of cost. Take education is not, it's a right to everyone, so people should get as much as possible. Yeah,
I get it. नहीं, it's and जो आपने बात की कि since your parents are kind of like sponsoring you, you live with them. I feel like अगर आपके पास ये privilege है and अगर आपके कोई ऐसे शौक हैं जो इतने money making नहीं है, because I've been through this whole process myself as well, but I always had like some sort of a day job to pay my bills and everything. So why
yeah,
not do this? Because हम ये चीज इसलिए कर सकते हैं कि we can spare the time and you probably don't have to worry about putting food on the table for
yeah,
dinner for the next day, right? So if we can do this, maybe people who are listening to us right now might start something of their own and might bring
yeah,
some sort of change.
absolutely.
And I think it is what it is, because we can only do this. Like, we don't have to, like, we're not responsible for everyone, right? We can just do
Yeah,
anything which is on our own, uh
means and all.
in our own means and everything as well. Before starting, we were also talking about very in topic these days के जो पाकिस्तानीज बाहर हैं या प्रोफेशनल्स हैं या जो पढ़ रहे हैं, आगे का क्या सीन है, should they come back, should they stay there? So let's just dive into that as well, because ऐसा नहीं है कि जो भी बाहर, बिकॉज हमारे यहाँ ये भी एक परसेप्शन है कि जो भी बाहर जाता है बाहर ही रहता है. आई नो अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल हु डिड कम बैक आफ्टर फ्रॉम कनाडा और द यूएस. सो आजकल ऑब्वियसली एवरीवन नोज के हालात, आई वुड से हालात तो नहीं बट इकोनॉमिकली इट्स सॉर्ट ऑफ अ क्रंच. But your views on that, because I think most of the people listening to us right now are either going abroad or are abroad or have come back from abroad. So I think उनके लिए ये बहुत important होगा, because I'm abroad and you are there, so we can just like I think paint a better picture of
Yeah.
what's going on.
That is also an interesting thing to think about. It's very tough. I feel that obviously privilege has a big hand in it. But so like we initially were speaking before the thing started, when I was there, I knew that I want to come back because I feel like for me, identity was very big. You know, I am Pakistani. I am, from the indigenous community where my family from as back as I can trace it, they were within this land.
Yep.
And I was like, yahan ka people don't even know how to pronounce my name. This is not the place that I want to submit my entire life to. अब पता नहीं आगे क्या है future में. I can't say कि ऐसा होगा कि मैं, कुछ पता नहीं होता. Also, alhamdulillah say I had a Canadian citizenship when I was born because my mom's family moved there 40 years ago because of some health related issues. So उसकी वजह से, even though I was not born there, I was given it at birth. So उसकी वजह से also I always had the option of staying there. Um, so वो भी एक privilege था. So I had the choice of coming back, not knowing that I have to go through the whole PR thing. That's another privilege coming to play. So I know कि
I think
जैसे,
that's
people,
a huge privilege
that's a
because
huge privilege.
I feel like अगर आप पाकिस्तान में भी हो भी, you always have that
I
security.
know. Security
and
net.
and there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
in it. Like if
There's
anyone thinks
nothing,
that's wrong,
yeah.
it's completely rational, and it's a very, I feel like it's a very far-sighted thing to do. कर लेना
I
चाहिए.
mean, it was just something that was by mistake, not by mistake, but it was something that like I'll give some context to it because people will be listening to be like, oh, she's a hypocrite, Canadian citizenship के साथ बैठी हुई है. What happened was, and I feel like ये भी, I'm gonna say Allah Taala के काम थे. क्योंकि I feel like I said, maybe this is a very like, I don't know, I won't say cocky thing to say, but it's like I am very sure and very secure in knowing what I want my purpose in life to be. And I
Okay.
think it's great that, Alhamdulillah, I was able to discover this at a good time because a lot of people try to figure out their purpose in life always. This is a decision I made that I want to submit my life to trying to make education more accessible. Yeah, even अगर मैं दो बच्चों को पढ़ा रही हूँ, at least, it has impacted their life positively. And I feel like that's my purpose. I don't feel like I want to make a change कि मैं prime minister बन के laws change करूँ.
Yeah.
I'm not लालची about that. For me, it's like दो तीन लोग भी हों, मेरा मैं कर रही हूँ जो मैंने करना है. In terms of the Canadian citizenship, what happened was that back in the 80s, my mom's sister was born with a hole in her heart. And the doctors over here in Karachi had advised my nana and my nani कि वहाँ एक pediatric hospital है called Sick Kids, take her over there. They went there, and unfortunately, my khala passed away when she was 9 years old. And there was a lot of, things that happened. There was a lot of, sadness. There was a lot of hurt. So a lot of my family, like my khalas and my mamus, they ended up staying there. My mom was also raised in Canada. And schooling bhi ki, they were, so they stayed there because obviously at that time it was also hard to keep
Yeah.
moving and figure out what to do. And they just, decided to stay there. Also, my
Yeah.
khala's grave was over there. So the family was just like, somehow they just were in that. And when my mom got married in the 90s, she moved back to Pakistan. And she
Okay.
married my dad, who refused to get Canadian citizenship because at that time kaha gaya tha ki, आसान है अभी आ जाए. It was just, he just had to apply for it. He didn't even have to, I think. I don't know, but I know that was not as tough as it is right now.
Okay.
But my dad refused. He said, I'm Pakistani and this is who I am. And I don't, and he's like, I will try to give you the best life possible that you don't feel कि किसी चीज की कमी है. If you feel opportunities there are better and whatnot. That ended
Okay.
up being a very big part of my identity. And that ended up, so it was not कि, this was a strategy made by the parents. If
I
anything, it
get
was my
it.
father saying, I'm staying in Pakistan. No way am I going abroad.
I get
So
it.
by virtue, yeah. So I feel like it was again on fluke because my khala was unwell. They went over there. My mom was raised there. So I have Canadian citizenship. That's it. And then because of that, my fees was also come because there's no way we could have afforded
Yeah.
education in Canada.
That's something I feel like,
Yeah.
and I Okay, just adding on to it, मैं लम से पहले कनाडा जा रहा था, and I think I was the first 4 or 5 kids in Nixer to get a student visa at that time, summers में, and
Yeah,
August में semester start होना था, and I got my LUMS admission in letter in July,
yeah,
and I got my visa like 3 days उससे पहले ही, तो either I could go or I could go to LUMS, and out of nowhere I decided to go to LUMS, and my whole family and
yeah.
my extended family was like, ये क्या कर रहे हो तुम अपने साथ, and I'm like नहीं बस मुझे LUMS जाना है,
It's very important because आपकी
and
जो experiences and they shape who you are, especially in university.
yeah, and for anyone who's listening, मैं Canada actuarial sciences करने जा रहा था, and आज I'm in a completely different trajectory in my life, and I somehow
Yeah,
went to LUMS and I somehow came to the Netherlands. So you never know, right?
you never know.
And you never know. And the thing you said about कि आपके father ने मना कर दिया and everything as well to get that nationality, I think ये लोगों के लिए बड़ा आसान होता है. But जैसे okay, so anyone who's listening and is interested, Canada to phir bhi, you can be a dual national, right? With Pakistan, Canada, the US, you're still allowed to have your Pakistani passport, as far as I know. But here, like for instance, Netherlands, you have to surrender your home nationality. Doesn't matter if you're a Pakistani, even if you're a US citizen, you need to surrender
That's
and
so
get a Dutch
heartbreaking.
get a Dutch citizenship, right? And then you get like you even don't get a NICOP. You cannot get a NICOP if you surrender your Pakistani nationality. You can only
Wow.
get a NICOP if you have a Pakistani passport. So you get a POC, which makes you a Pakistan origin card, which is basically meant for people second generation Pakistanis abroad. But people do that, right? And
Yeah.
मुझसे बहुत सारे लोग पूछते हैं, and I'm like, अभी तो खैर बहुत टाइम, अभी तो मैंने सोचा भी नहीं, अभी तो सिर्फ साल हुआ है. बट आई एम लाइक यार ये वाला जो मामला है ना सरेंडर करने वाला है, ये मुझे सोचना पड़ेगा, ये इतना
It's
आसान
like
नहीं है.
you're letting go of your identity in a way as well, where it's like it's a huge
Yeah,
sacrifice. It sounds
because
like so easy, but when
yeah,
it comes
and
to
people
it,
don't get
it's
because the thing is like as long as I'm here, passport तो पाकिस्तानी है, तो I'm very much पाकिस्तानी में, मुझे वीजा के लिए धक्के अभी भी खाने पड़ते हैं, like
yeah,
यूके जाने के लिए, यूएस आने के लिए. And this has a lot of sentimental value, right? Like
yeah,
जब आप एयरपोर्ट पे जाते हो और खौर होते हो और दूसरी लाइन में लगते हो और आपके पासपोर्ट पे स्टैंप लगता है, तो आपको फील होता है हाँ यार मैं पाकिस्तानी. And I feel like it's just part of our life to know. But yeah, anyone who's watching this and they're still considering going abroad or not, I think मेरे experience में मैं तो ये कहूँगा कि when you go abroad for bachelor's or master's, just think until the end of your degree and wait and then make a decision. अगर आप ये सोच के पाकिस्तान से बैचलर्स करने बाहर चले जाओगे कि मैंने कभी जिंदगी में वापस नहीं आना, तो आप एक आइडेंटिटी क्राइसिस में चले जाओगे. बिकॉज
mm,
since my research is very much social media savvy, so I often see Twitter पे people are posting with their passport and ticket, and I'm like, I'm just leaving and I'm never coming back. मसला ये है कि इस माइंडसेट के साथ जब आप बाहर जाओगे ना, तो you'll literally get into an identity crisis.
yeah.
Plus अगर आपको वापस आना भी पड़ेगा ना, तो you'll be like, मैंने तो सोचा था मैं नहीं आऊंगा and all of that, right? So just be practical. बैचलर्स करने जा रहे हो तो 4 साल का सोचो, मास्टर्स करने जा रहे हो तो
Mm.
2 साल का सोचो, and then see.
And then
And
see where.
I feel like कोविड के बाद तो इतनी लंबी प्लानिंग करने का कोई फायदा भी नहीं है, मैंने तो करना छोड़
Yeah, yeah,
दिया.
same. कुछ नहीं
कोविड
पता
के
होता कि
बाद
क्या
you
होगा.
never know. You
You
never
realize the
know.
cards are not on your table. You realize that you
Yeah,
just have to go with what opportunities you get and उस हिसाब से क्या सबसे
yeah,
makes sense. But I feel like जैसे आप सही कह रहे हैं कि don't plan so ahead कि you're gonna leave Pakistan and all that and अभी भी I don't know what the future has in store for me. It's possible कि it might not be in Pakistan. But I know that all my life I will dedicate my life to Pakistan. I know that sounds very nationalistic and all that. It's just that because I do owe a lot to this country. A lot of people say that to me, okay, what has this country given you? Okay, you do. And I was like, everything. My entire existence
yeah,
is rooted to this country. My
yeah,
ancestors are all from here. I want to keep that going. I want my kids to, because it gives me, okay, so I'll give you another context to it. Because my family, so much of it is abroad, that my cousins are all basically second generation. And this goes both ways because my dad's siblings are also all in California. I had no family in Pakistan growing up. I had one phopo who was in Azad Kashmir, what we call Azad Kashmir, Mirpur. And so she was my closest family, and they used to visit us every summer. Um, but none of my cousins can really speak Urdu. I
which
have
is
some of
very
them
sad.
now.
Which is
It's
which
very
is very
sad.
sad. Yeah.
It is very sad, and I see them trying. I see one of my cousins, like, she
Even
can't
if they
keep a
can speak,
conversation
they
going.
can't read it. I think that's
They
also
can't
another
read
problem.
Urdu.
Yeah.
Even like I can see that because my aunts and uncles who are also raised there, they can read it, but I feel like obviously that flow is not there. And you know what? I'm gonna call it like being handicapped low-key, because it's not just unko phir bhi, like my nani used to be very particular about them reading Nonehal and doing Khushkhati, sitting in Canada, doing all of that because she wanted them
Okay,
to be
no one
rooted.
in
Yeah.
Canada. That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Lekin, so I know my mamu's khalas, they can't, but they try. That's the thing. You know, that identity crisis is that feeling like ye aapki zuban hai, like khandani zuban ya family, like, yeah, you know, identity wise zuban hai, but struggling with it. And the thing is कि Pakistan में ये जो my kids introduced me to the concept of दो Pakistan, अमीरों का और गरीबों का. And the thing about the अमीरों का Pakistan is that the school is so English medium, and especially लाहौर में मुझे पता चला कि काफी स्कूलों में they had to pay a fine if they were talking in Urdu.
Even in my
Can
school
you
as
believe
well. वो
that?
कभी
No
implement नहीं हुआ था.
way.
Yeah, in my school,
हाँ,
let's just everyone knows where I went to in FPS. Sometime down the line, grade 8 and grade 9, they were like, अगर आपने उर्दू में बात की तो ना वो एक बॉक्स बना दिया था. Anyone who was in FPS North Campus knows. एक बॉक्स बना दिया था कॉरिडोर में, और बॉक्स में ना
yeah.
आपको 10 रुपए डालने होते थे.
How is that
And
even acceptable? How is
yeah,
that acceptable?
I feel like it's not a it's more of a post-colonial thing.
It is
Because
100%.
this happens in, if you go to like ये जो सारे कॉन्वेंट स्कूल्स होते हैं, इवन इन इंडिया, जो
Yeah,
हमें बॉलीवुड में भी बहुत नजर आते हैं, आई थिंक वहां पे भी ये कल्चर है. एंड इवन आवर जिमखानास, आई एम अ मेंबर ऑफ वन ऑफ द जिमखानास, आई नो व्हाट it's literally
yes,
wining and dining in 1960s का England still
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
2023.
yeah.
When
You
I was
know,
a,
yeah.
yeah, so
I'm so
but when
sorry,
I
I'm
was a
cutting you
kid,
off.
yeah, when I was a kid, आपने कॉलर शर्ट पहननी है, आपने टाई पहननी है. I just became a member in the summers. मैं पाकिस्तान गया, अगले दिन मेरा वो था, what do you call it? It was I had to go into a room, talk to
Yeah,
12 people in English, wearing a suit, and telling them
yeah.
what I'm doing, and then I became an adult member because I was a
You're
child member.
kidding.
And it's 2023, and it's still happening. I'm not
I have
ashamed of
a,
it, but I'm just telling you
yeah,
it's happening. Yeah,
I have a similar story that happened right now, and I got really upset. I won't name the club because
yeah,
I am a member of it, so I don't want it
yeah,
to be like, oh, you're,
yeah, yeah,
but what happened was, and this is, and the reason I'm not naming them is because it's universal to all country clubs in Pakistan,
yeah.
and they should
It's
be called out.
yeah,
So, क्योंकि so what happened was that my brother-in-law, he was raised in Chicago. Bichara can't speak in Urdu. He will watch this probably and be like, you were talking. But he was learning Urdu actually because all of these people did have an identity crisis where they hit 20 and trying to understand who they are and not feeling fitted. So he was trying to learn Urdu from a German man who was trying to teach him
okay,
Urdu. He ended up
okay,
marrying my sister, who's also very Pakistani. The painting in the back is for them. They got this made, and I'll actually tell you the philosophy of it also. This is a Doraemon mask. You can't see because the lighting is not great. This is
yeah,
made by a dear friend of mine named Zahid Mayo. I'm also his work is amazing. And they wanted कि we want a Sunday bazaar scene ताकि जब ये हमारे cousin in Seattle, her husband works for Google, so they've decided कि we're going to work here, earn a lot of money, and then come back to Pakistan. So this painting is a motivating factor for them to remember who they're working for. So
okay.
that when they come back to Pakistan, you know, they so
Yeah,
this
I get it.
and the reason why the Doraemon painting is here is to show that this is not Purana Zamana, this is Abhi ka Zamana, and the people are still this real. And
Yeah,
so and I'm not and my brother-in-law grew up in Chicago, then went to university, masters, all of that. Alhamdulillah, working for a great company now. Never lived in Pakistan, nothing. But he is so Pakistani. He loves Pakistan so much. He's come here, and I saw the transition of him not being able to speak in Urdu to slowly starting to grasp a couple of terms, trying to. But he came here and he lived with us for 2 months while working because he's in like works with the software, so it was
yeah,
easy for him to do that. So he was over for Eid, and we went to the country club for tea. And he went in Peshawari chappal, looking very nice, you know, acha sa
very
safed kurta,
Pakistani.
very Pakistan because, and he loves walking around in shawls and all that because he's trying to hold on to that identity that he felt he was robbed of. And he goes in, and the club wale come and say,
They're
"Ke,
like, आप ये नहीं
sorry
पहन
sir,
सकते.
आप ये chappaleं नहीं पहन सकते." Peshawari chappal, really nice, like not even. And I looked at them, and then they said, "आप सलवार कमीज भी नहीं पहन सकते. अगर आप सलवार कमीज पहनेंगे, आपने
तो
वेस्ट
आपको
कोट
वेस्ट
पहननी है."
कोट पहननी होगी. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And I
get it.
looked at him, I was like,
Been there, done that.
and it was not
Yeah,
like it was a very proper Shalwar. He did not look disheveled from any corner. He didn't. I don't even know that sounds really weird, but I looked at them and I said, it's Eid. Forget that, it's Eid.
Yeah,
And
that's
this
the
man
thing,
is
right?
here in Pakistan trying to hold on to his identity
Yeah,
and trying to
this
be
is
proud of it, and
interesting.
he's not allowed to celebrate that identity here.
Yeah,
Oh, that though made me so mad that I got up and I went and I wrote a complaint form, and I look at the waiters and they're like, madam, we can't do anything about it. These are the
yeah,
rules.
they're
And I was
not
like,
they're not at fault here, but
how
yeah,
can you?
that's
But how can you not challenge it? And the fact that helpers are not allowed at these clubs to come and sit with you and have food with you, like they're human too. They're working. It's like my father working at a company. They're working. I'm
yeah,
their employer, maybe. Like my family might be an employer for them, but they should get dignity. If my father is going for a business meeting or something like that, will they stop him from coming saying you're an employee? How
yeah,
can we not allow our helpers to eat with us or
that's so that's so I would say थोड़ा सा ये post colonial भी है और
post
थोड़ा सा
colonial
ये
है?
और classist भी है to an extent.
बहुत. And all of
and
that comes from colonialism.
एंड आई फील लाइक सिर्फ हमारे यहाँ नहीं है, इंडिया में भी है, बांग्लादेश का आई डोंट नो, बट इंडिया का मुझे थोड़ा सा एक्सपोजर है. इंडिया में भी a lot of places, a lot of clubs, a lot of gymkhanas are like
Yeah,
this, and आहिस्ता आहिस्ता चेंज होगा. एंड
inshallah. But I mean, it's
एंड
2023.
दिस विल मतलब कुछ लोगों को लगता है कि कुछ लोग इसको डिसोन कर देते हैं, बट आई फील लाइक दिस इज पार्ट ऑफ आवर हिस्ट्री. वी वर पार्ट ऑफ ब्रिटिश इंडिया फॉर 400 साल, 300 350
Yeah.
साल. वी कैन नेवर चेंज इट, दिस विल ऑलवेज बी अ पार्ट ऑफ आवर हिस्ट्री. बट थोड़ा सा अगर हम कंपैशनेट हो जाएं और अगर किसी ने सूट और टाई नहीं पहना हुआ उससे भी उसी तरह बात कर लें, और जिसने पहना हुआ है उससे भी उसी
There
तरह
should be
बात कर लें कि
pride in, like,
yeah,
ये एक मीरा सेठी ने एक interview की थी and I really liked it, where she said, when you're speaking in English, speak in it in a way where you own the language,
yeah,
where no one will be able to, say कि अच्छा आपकी. But then when you speak in Urdu, speak in a way that,
yeah,
no one can question that. Be, because yes, the British were here for 200 years. That was like our most recent. They were an empire. They took over. That is a part of our history too. We can't separate ourselves from it. But don't make an active effort to be that,
yeah.
to
I
hold
feel
on to
like
that in such a
it's
like unhealthy way.
इट्स अगेन दैट राइट कि अगर आप अगर आपको इंग्लिश आती है, अगर आपको उर्दू आती है, तो आपको उर्दू बोलने में, और एक तो हमारे यहाँ ये एक अलग सा कॉन्सेप्ट है कि कोई बाहर से पढ़कर आएगा ना तो वो तो इंग्लिश बोलना शुरू कर देगा. अबे भाई वो क्यों इंग्लिश बोलना शुरू, मतलब ठीक है बोल भी सकता है, मैं भी बोलता हूँ, आई थिंक आई कैन नॉट लाइक, मैं 3 4 सेंटेंसेस में नहीं बोल सकता प्योर खालिस उर्दू में, लेकिन जितनी मुझे उर्दू आती है उतनी आई नो उर्दू, राइट. एंड आई वुड ऑल्सो, वी आर almost at the 1 hour 15 minute mark. But since you mentioned this, and I'm a Punjabi, but I don't know how to speak Punjabi, and I don't know how to write Punjabi, because हम पंजाबी उर्दू में लिखते हैं, बट पंजाबी उर्दू में
Yeah.
नहीं लिखी जाती, पंजाबी गुरमुखी में लिखी जाती है, एंड हमें कभी वो सिखाया
Actually,
नहीं.
sorry, that actually something I found out right now. There's a language called Shahmukhi, which
Okay.
was the Urdu script of Punjabi that
Yeah,
also is from
I
before the
heard
partition.
about that as well. And
Yeah,
my mom told me कि उनके स्कूल्स में फैसलाबाद में पंजाब अभी भी बल्कि पंजाबी की जगह अरबिक पढ़ा रहे हैं आउट ऑफ नोवेयर, which is मतलब वो तो मतलब कोई इतनी कोई फजूल सी हरकत है ना. Why would you teach Arabic as a regional language as opposed to India?
yeah.
तो मेरे दोस्त हैं मुझे बताते हैं, need to get like 2 to 3 languages. I think संस्कृत भी पढ़ते हैं वो लोग और देवनागरी में लिखना भी सीखते हैं. एंड इट इज व्हाट इट इज, राइट. लाइक पंजाबी बोलना मुझे आती है, समझ भी आ जाती है, एंड आई थिंक हमारी मॉडर्न जनरेशन को शायद एपी डिलन की वजह से भी पंजाबी समझ आ जाती होगी, बट इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू stay connected to your roots.
Yeah.
It was great, Larib. I think we're almost at the 1 hour 20 minute mark. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope ये पेज चलाती ने, it's amazing. It gives a lot of
Thank
us
you.
hope, a lot of knowledge, and you're doing some great service, not only to the people of Pakistan, but I think everyone who's remotely associated with the Indian subcontinent. And I hope you do that. And just any ending note for anyone who's listening, what would you like to say to them? And then we'll just close it off.
I would just say that uh I think just be happy in what you're doing. And I know बड़े हमें advise करते हैं कि नहीं ये पागल, because a lot of people message me saying my baras are telling me don't move to Pakistan. My baras, I mean, it's your life. आपको जिस चीज में खुशी होती है, you have no idea the impact that you're making on someone else's life with even the littlest thing that you're doing. So I would say don't doubt that. Listen to your instinct and just be the change you want to see in the world. Inshallah. Hopefully,
Great.
hope you're able to do that.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. This podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple, and Google as well. And yeah, take care. Bye bye.